What's up, guys? I'm Captain Mike, and welcome back to Florida Sport Fishing TV Plus, Tuesday, August 23rd. First, a big thank you to all of our new members. You guys are going to absolutely love this platform. Want to remind everybody, episodes of Florida Sport Fishing TV are currently airing on World Fishing Network. New season is going to kick off in January on the Sportsman channel. We're also simultaneously launching our exciting new informative series, Captain Mike's Rigging Station. That'll kick off in January as well on Bally Sports, Florida. So a lot of cool stuff happening. As far as Florida Sport Fishing TV Plus, look, we've got a really cool topic that we're going to talk to you about here today. But I also want to let you know I'm going to be posting our recent live seminar on queen snapper fishing and snowy grouper fishing that we just filmed last week at Chaos in Pompano. That'll be on here this week, so a lot of great content. All right, without further ado, let's get right to it here. You know, one of the things that I want to talk to you about, regardless if we're fishing for permit or dolphin or mutton fishing or snapper fishing, of course, is using our electronics, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing, but really utilizing those electronics as best as you can is certainly going to help you be a more successful angler. Now, aboard our 39-foot CB, we fish a Furuno TZ Touch network. We've got multiple function displays, multifunction displays, and really just an incredibly intuitive system, so simple to use. You know, at first, I was very hesitant with the full touchscreen capability of the TZ Touch. I always wanted that roto dial and some backup buttons if I needed them, but you don't. It's really an awesome system, and it works just as good as it should, including gesture swipes and finger swipes that allow you to control different functions on those screens. But let's get right to it. I wanted to share some different ways because, of course, it's impossible to share an entire lifetime in just a few minutes, but just give you a few examples of how I use my electronics to get on the bite, to stay on the bite. But there is so much more, and we're going to talk about a lot more in the future as well. Understand what you're looking at here. Again, this is just a recording from our Furuno TZ Touch. In this particular case, of course, it's my fish finder. I've got a couple of different transducers on the boat. We've got a multifunction, or I should say a DFF 3D. And what that's giving us is a three-dimensional image of the bottom as we're cruising along. Obviously, there's the boat. You can see we're creating our own three-dimensional image of the bottom. We also have a scanning fish finder. This is directly under the boat, to the right of the boat, to the left of the boat. Okay, so this way, as I'm trolling along, cruising, drifting, whatever it is, I can get a clear picture of not only what's happening directly under the boat, but is it to the right, to the left, and that helps me get zeroed in on different pieces of structure and different fish. And then, of course, on the left side of the screen here, this is from the surface, 10 feet, all the way on down to 180 to 190 feet. Just a big picture. And by the way, it's white because when we're filming out there, it's just easier to see the screen when it's white versus blue. Nevertheless, in this particular case, what I was doing is I'm offshore and I'm trolling for wahoo. That's actually what I'm doing here. It's 186 feet. I'm trolling for wahoo, but I'm constantly monitoring my entire system. And lo and behold, look what happens. First, I saw a few fish on the bottom right there, which piqued my interest, okay? And I said, man, those look like muttons right on the bottom. And then boom, this little hump appears right there. And you can see it developing right on the DFF 3D. Those are fish markings right there. You could also see as I'm trolling along that it's a little bit more predominant on the right side of the vessel here, on the right side of the boat. Anyhow, of course, I marked that spot, came back later, further investigation down the line, and it's now one of my favorite mutton snapper spots that I didn't even know existed. But while I was trolling for the wahoo and keeping one eye glued to the machine, you know, I was able to learn a new spot, to pick it off. And what you don't see here too, keep in mind, I can simply just touch that hump and it's going to create a waypoint automatically. And I can then easily come back, like I said, and investigate it further. So that's just one scenario where you know, even though you're trolling for one fish and utilizing one tactic, but by really keeping an open mind and utilizing the equipment you have, you can get dialed in on something completely different. And just work with me here. It's our first time messing around with this, so hopefully we can get you all dialed in and you can see a bunch of cool stuff. The next one here that I wanted to share with you, this is my Platter. Okay, this is what you're going to see here. It's actually my fish finder. I'm coming up on an area that I want to bottom fish. I want to chum right here. I want to yellow. We're fishing for yellowtails in this area. We're going to sandball. I came around, I investigated this whole area where I'd caught fish before. I came up, dropped the anchor right there, and the boat is slowly coming back on the anchor because I want to end up right in this area so all my chum flows directly over those spots and obviously bring the fish to me. If I had my vessel back here, I'm going to miss the bite. If I'm over here or over here, I'm going to miss the bite. So again, it just gives me that ability to really zero in because nobody wants to re-anchor over and over, right? So utilize your electronics, use them to help you, and this is just another one of those scenarios. We also have the Fish It, Drift It feature. That's some other really cool technology on the TZ Touch 3, and we're going to talk about that more in future seminars as well. Another one that's super cool, and there's always a lot of questions, is about radar. Now, of course, we use radar a lot for situational awareness, safe navigation during low light conditions. Of course, it's a life-saving tool. It's vital. You know, no doubt about it, no doubt about that. But it's also a great tool for fishing in a couple of different ways. I want to talk to you about bird mode in a second because there's always a lot of questions about that. But I do just want to point out something else that I don't have a recording right now, but you'll pick up on this. Oftentimes I'll be offshore, perhaps wreck fishing, looking for muttons, and I see another guy fishing a spot that might be half a mile away from me. I'm looking at him in the binoculars. I know he's bottom fishing, but I'm not familiar with that spot. I don't recall there being a wreck or a hump or anything in that area. And certainly don't want to intrude and sneak up on somebody. So I'll just turn on my radar and I'll ping them right on the radar and I'll create a couple of waypoints. And then down the line, again, I can go investigate those waypoints. So that's a real nice feature on the Furuno TZ Touch, you know, on the radar system. It just helps you be a more successful angler, no question about that. And then there's bird mode. You know, remember the days when you had to make all of these adjustments. You had to turn up the gain, the clutter, and you know, now we just push one button, literally bird mode. And look at this detail. That's a flock of birds. That's another flock of birds right there. There's a couple of boats working some fish there. There's a few birds there, but it's these two flocks that were 1.5 miles, the rings, so they're well over 1 mile away from me. With the naked eye, you would not have seen those birds, and the birds lead the way to the bite. There's no doubt about that. So you could blow this up and go out to 3 miles, 6 miles, you know, obviously depending on how powerful your radar is. Here's another flock that just popped up right there. You can even designate color trails that'll really indicate to you what direction those birds are moving in. So absolutely priceless tool really when it comes to offshore fishing is using that radar. Next, you know, here's just another tool that people are always kind of amazed with. Now let me just pause this and explain to you what you're looking at here. Again, I'm offshore wahoo fishing, but I'm painting the bottom. I'm using my PBG, my personal bathymetric generator, and I'm creating a 3D image of the bottom as I'm trolling along. The blue line below the boat is the big swath that I'm scanning. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm sweeping a transducer and scanning it across that line, and I'm creating that 3-dimensional image. And as I troll this area and work this area more, you're going to fill in all of the blanks, and eventually a picture will develop. And, you know, while it's not perhaps as detailed as some of the other stuff that's out there, it's certainly a huge tool, and it's another tool that's going to help me understand the surroundings, the fish habitat, and to really get dialed into key areas. Now in this case, as I'm trolling along, look what I scanned right there. There's all these little ridges and channels and humps right there that I never even knew existed. Okay, so again, I'm just doing another swipe, and this is while I'm wahoo fishing. Look, there's the speed, 9.8 knots, almost 10 miles an hour. I should say miles an hour. I'm trolling some Nomad deep diving plugs, these bears right there. And as I'm doing that, look, like I said, that popped up. You bet your butt I came back and, further investigated that and eventually filled in the whole area. So just absolutely awesome. Again, the PBG personal bathymetric generator on the Furuno TZ Touch 3. A really, really neat tool. Now here's another scenario that I think you'll appreciate as well, and I want to just set the stage. So I'm actually in my 39-foot CV here, and we draft 28, 30 inches, whatever it is, but I'm fishing the backcountry, really shallow water. Look at the readings, 10 feet, 11 feet, 8 feet, 7 feet. It's relatively shallow as it is. However, there are some sandbars and some, grassy areas where 2 feet, 0 feet, 2 feet, clearly danger zones for a guy in a 39 CV. And being unfamiliar with this area, at first I'm like, maybe I can just cut right through them. But, if you're off by just a little bit, and, there's scenarios where you've got cloudy conditions and you can't physically see, maybe cloudy water, dirty water. So many different scenarios where visually you're just not sure, and being off by just a couple of feet could really spell disaster, So by using my plotter with satellite image overlay, I decided, hey, I'm going to go clearly right around, plenty of water. I'm actually fishing a flat on this side for sharks, right at the 7 Mile Bridge. But it just made safe navigation very, very simple, even in a boat my size in very shallow water. So once again, another one of the many, many tools. The Furuno TZ Touch Network is an incredible system. It helps me be a more successful angler, a more safe boater, that's for sure. And it really just saves a lot of time and effort. It's very intuitive. Regardless of the electronics that are on your boat, look, just learn them. Learn all of the features, all of the benefits, and use them. Okay, it makes no sense for your equipment to have capabilities that you're not taking advantage of. So it's all of these little things that all come together, that at the end of the day, like I said, are going to make you a more successful angler.